Okay, so last week was Jimmy Page's birthday, and it allowed me to indulge in just how much I love Jimmy Page. I dug out an old box of DVDs and found the very reason I fell in love with his playing and the band Led Zeppelin. The Song Remains the Same DVD. As a 16-year-old first getting into music and guitar music especially, this blew my mind. And in particular, Since I've Been Loving You, which is of course track 7 on the DVD, which for some reason I still remember today, probably something to do with how many times I skipped to it. This is an absolute masterpiece in the subject we're going to talk about today, dynamics. The difference between a good solo and a phenomenal solo is the use of dynamics in your playing, and Jimmy Page is a master of this. So I'm going to pick up the closest thing I have to that unbelievable Les Paul that he's playing, plug it into the closest thing I have to his amp, and show you 2 example licks from this track that beautifully demonstrate how Jimmy Page uses dynamics. Now then, I'm sure you all have a rough idea about what dynamics are. Fundamentally, changes in volume, okay? But that's very black and white, and I want to really look into the greys here, and certainly Jimmy Page does. And I want to group 2 things for this lesson when it comes to dynamics. Not just volume, so kind of loud and quiet, but also speed, so slow and fast as well. And I think there's an argument that these are both dynamics and something that Jimmy Page uses a lot to make his solos so good. So the first lick I'm going to show you is all about the volume dynamic. So let's just have a little look at that. Okay, so the thing I love about this riff, and when we're talking about dynamics, is how there's so many dynamics within such a little lick. So rather than one lick has a particular dynamic and then the next lick has a different dynamic, this is all within one idea. Okay, so have a listen to that again. Okay, and as you can hear, we start really big and then we bring it down. And I swear, when I first heard this on the track, I was thinking, he's just clicked a delay pedal on there. Because it sounded to me like he played the first couple of notes, and then the rest of it was kind of just delay flutters. Because of how quickly he changes those dynamics, okay? So in terms of what we're doing here, we're just up in our pentatonic box 2 and 3 in C minor. So I'm here in box 2, and this is box 3. So I'm very much using those notes, and I spread them across one string. So I've got my first finger on my 11th fret, then 13th fret, and then 15th fret. And that's the span of notes that I'm doing there. Okay, and what I do in terms of just sheer notes is I go up those notes first. So I go 11, 13, 15, and then I pull off the 3 notes as well. Okay. So the difference there in terms of how we do that sound-wise is we really build up to that first pull-off sound. Okay, so we go heavy, heavy, and then we hit this one hard, and then quickly pull off those 2 notes. Then I simply go back and forth. So literally just up, down, but those are very, very subtle sounds there. Okay, so altogether up to that point, you've got this. And it's even more intense than that in terms of the dynamic when you actually get it up to the speed. But essentially heavy, 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 all there. And then we're gonna the next time we go up, we're gonna pick as lightly as you can with this hand. Okay, so really loosen the grip on the plectrum. And then we come back to the middle note, the 13th fret, and then hit the 13th fret on the B string to end it. Okay, so all together. Almost by the time we're at that B string note, we're going to be almost inaudible. Okay, we really want to go so low on the volume. Okay. The other thing to bear in mind is I am playing through a cranked amp, but I've got the volume all the way down. I'm basically on 2 on the volume, and I'm on the lead pickup here, so the bridge pickup, to kind of get this sound as authentic as possible. Okay, so you can hear dynamically it's a huge shift. Okay, we go from this big attack to then just literally softening up your grip on the plectrum and going through the rest of it as quietly as you can. And that is how Jimmy Page masters dynamics in terms of volume. So that's the gist of the volume dynamic, but what about the idea that speed can be a dynamic as well? Well, why not? Jimmy Page uses changes of speed as an effect in the live version of this track to achieve a point rather than to be very precise and accurate. It's actually often considered sloppy playing, but I'm going to say that that's missing the point. It's there to serve a dynamic purpose. So let's have a look at one of the licks in Since I've Been Loving You as an example. Okay, so with this lick, not only are we talking about the dynamics in terms of volume, which you can hear again all the way through this lick, we're also talking about this dynamic in terms of speed, okay? And how he just goes in and out of the beat so effortlessly. It absolutely taught me everything I needed to know about that just from listening to Jimmy Page. So essentially, if we just go through the notes first, so we're now in the kind of C minor scale. So there's my C, that's the 8th fret. And I'm playing through this scale box. So that's a C minor scale, okay? Now, when I go through this scale, I'm really also thinking the pentatonic. You know, that's very much what it's based upon, that pentatonic box 1, and using the extra notes of the minor scale. So the first couple of notes of this. Okay, so basically what we're doing here is we're going through the minor scale. So we're going from the 11th fret to the 10 to the 8. Then back up, then back down, okay? So licks like that only work if you're bringing some dynamics in, whether it's the speed or whether it's the volume. Otherwise, that, you know, that doesn't do anything for anyone really. But that's the basic notes. Then I'm gonna hit this note here, which is the 9th fret of the B string, then back up to the 10, and then back down to that 9. And finish off that first half of the lick like that. So back to the 8th fret and then 10th fret. So altogether, without the dynamics, it's this. And even slower. But now let's talk about the dynamics. So the volume dynamic, first of all. It's all really subtle here, but there are accented points. For example, when I come back to that 11th fret, that's really accented volume-wise. You know, those little accents, so there's the first one on the 11th fret, then when I come back to the 10th fret for the second time, when I go from the 9th fret to the 10th fret, that's accented as well. Just to really bring some extra dynamic to that. But the main thing we're looking at here is the speed dynamics, okay? So the way it kind of feels like it's kind of falling down the stairs, or it's a snowball effect, is a dynamic, in my opinion. So essentially, rather than just all 16th notes, you know, we're really kind of pulling and pushing every single note. So we start really slow, and then suddenly we just speed up. You know, we're really dragging those first couple of notes. Then we speed it up. And then we slow it down again. Okay? You can hear how just by varying those speeds, we create something far more interesting and dynamic than it previously would have been. Then for the rest of the lick, this is a really nice combo of the minor and the pentatonic scale. And essentially we're going from the 7th fret to the 8th fret to the 10th fret, then back to the 7th to the 8th, and then we're going to go down that pentatonic scale. So we're literally going 10, 8, slide down to 8, then a 6, and then the root note, and then jumping up to the octave of the root note. And I jump up with my little finger normally on that octave. So just the notes there are, again, that's all very even and very dynamically kind of basic. But when you do start adding some dynamics to that, again here, speed-wise, we kind of start slow, and then speed it up literally as we're going through the lick. So just start to just add speed. And also as you're going through the lick, you kind of add a bit more dynamically volume-wise as well. So we start soft. By that point, I've hit probably the peak of my volume, and then I bring it back down again. Okay. So again, Jimmy Page he doesn't make it easy for us. You know, it's not just like this first bit's loud, and then this second bit's quiet. It's all within, almost from note to note, you can be varying that dynamic in terms of volume and speed. Okay guys, so that's it from me. I really hope you've enjoyed this lesson, and remember, if you love Jimmy Page and you really want to get to grips with his style, then we've got a full 24 lesson player study of the man himself. It's absolutely free. You can either do it on YouTube or over on our website, and we'll have the link here so you can click straight through and get started with that. If you're loving these lessons, then please do subscribe, comment, like, let me know how you're getting on with all the material. And if you want to see some more lessons from me, then click the link here as well, and we'll go through to some more awesome learning. All right, speak to you soon.